Peter's going to talk about some guy who has some takes on today's Not So Critical update.
Great intro, John. I can see you're really getting with the program here. We complain about not reading stories quite a lot, but I mean, you could at least pretend, for fuck's sake. Jesus. Right. Anyway, so this is a guy called Mikko Hypponen. He's Finnish, and he works for, he used to work for a company called F-Secure. He was, I think, one of the founders, or at least they're from right at the beginning. And that is now split into F-Secure and WithSecure. And one of them is the consumer sector, and one of them is more business. He described it as the biggest Scandinavian security company becoming the biggest and the second biggest Scandinavian security company, or Finnish, I don't know. But anyway, he's a legend. At Mikko on Twitter, and he posts some really interesting things. He carries around a 5-inch floppy disk in his suit, and he gets his suits tailored so that he can carry it. He's the author of, he started off with the Commodore 64, wrote games. Legend, absolute legend. Really interesting guy. Also, he's got a big ponytail that he kind of waves around it, which is, I think, slightly ironic, but, you know, it's one of those distinguishing marks that people have. So he did an AMA on Reddit, and he had some really interesting stories to tell. So I liked this story because of that and because I know him. I guess not so interesting to you guys, right?
Well, I thought some of the stories were really interesting. And I watched his video. There's a video linked in the AMA where he was talking about the cyber war in Ukraine. That was super interesting. So yeah, definitely some good stories in there. I was not familiar with who he was before you shared the AMA link, though. I will
Apparently
confess.
Still not familiar with him.
Bad geek.
Yeah, it's okay. He's Finnish, so he's, you know. But there was
You said Finnish. I'm falling asleep. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah. Well, you're Swedish, so there's that natural rivalry going on there. What?
Can't help himself.
You're not
Can't
even
help
give up.
himself.
What?
He couldn't
You
say you're
talked about
Nordic.
that.
He couldn't say you're from a country neighboring
What the
Finland. You're like, boom.
Fuck, man.
I do think you've
he's
talked about that before, John.
I don't think so.
definite in your interview.
No, I don't have any
I-
recollection of that.
I think you did.
I mean,
No,
come
you guys are
on.
mistaken.
All right.
Yeah, I talked about it.
Anyway, John's from Bleep, and they traditionally have a rivalry with the Finnish. So let's just leave it there.
I mean, can you really call it much of a rivalry? It's just,
Oh, okay, all right, we get it. Jesus, Bleep versus wherever. There was a couple of really good stories. I thought one of my favorites was, it was about because part of the reason I like him is because he worked in the trenches. You know, he worked in malware research groups, and he was at an antivirus company. And when outbreaks happened, they would have to kind of like drop everything and go and work overnight to, you know, come up with a signature for their AV engine or whatever. It was really cool. So he's a big honcho now, and he goes around talking to people a lot. But he has done his time. You know, he's a proper researcher. And he told this one story about one of the best attacks that they had, which was a kind of a phishing campaign. So an attacker posed as the CEO, but didn't target anyone from the finance department in their headquarters. They they targeted a guy in their Korean office. Oh no, sorry, Asian headquarters in Kuala Lumpur. Called him up and sent him an email and said, "Hi, are you available? I'll call you in 10 minutes. This is the CEO." And that's it. And then the guy who was just started recently was, a payments guy in Kuala Lumpur. Were expecting this call. Got a call in 10 minutes. Wasn't familiar with the CEO. CEO wants to talk to you. The first thing he said was, "Are you alone? Can you talk in private?" The guy's like, "Yeah." And then he said, "Okay, listen carefully. I'm putting you on the company's insider list. That means that by law, you're not allowed to disclose anything discussed in this call to anyone. If you have any questions, contact either myself or our general counsel. Do you understand?" And he said, "Yes, I understand." And apparently, this is what happens when you get put on an insider list. If a company is about to go public and there needs to be a certain level of security towards insider information, that's what happens. You get a call from the CEO, and you're not allowed to talk about anything. So it was a really, really good scam, I thought. And it was, I think he went on to say something like, listen, we are having some problems. This is all to do with an acquisition of a Chinese company. We need to route some funds through Kuala Lumpur because it's easier instead of from Finland. So I need you to wire this money to this address and blah, 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 blah. And the reason it failed, and this is beautiful, is that they had done an exercise exactly for this scenario where they had said, okay, these are all the people that are allowed to be put on the insider list. This is what will happen if it happens. If, check with this person, blah, 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 if you get put on it. So it failed.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty cool, though, I think.
Yeah, that's a great social engineering attack. Especially the follow-up. I'll call you in 10 minutes. New employee. Doesn't know procedure as well as others. Really good training from the company security. That is like some next level awareness. But very cool.
Yeah. There was a couple other things, highlights from the thread as well. One of them was about IKEA or IKEA for anybody who lives in Bleep. Sorry. Apparently they spend a lot of money on IoT security, and I never clicked that. Of course they do. They sell smart devices. Well, sell all sorts of devices that work in homes, and for them, they have such slim margins that the biggest nightmare is a product recall. So it is well worth them investing in security beforehand, because to make sure that this recall doesn't happen.
Yeah, he said in one of the answers. He said in one of the answers on that specifically is that some of the largest DDoS botnets on the planet are not infected computer networks, but IoT devices around the planet. Yeah,
IoT devices is a kind of a fascinating area, and I was talking to someone recently about it, and she has this whole job reviewing IoT devices, and she had something like 6,000 vendors in her database, which is like, holy shit, keeping on top of all that. It's just vendors,
You go on Showdown, it is actually scary.
Yeah.
Showdown is a aggregator of data of publicly facing devices, web-facing devices. So, and you can query this humongous database that is updated in real time with live information, and basically literally you can say IoT in the query, and holy moly, the amount of devices. Yeah, it's scary. And then you could just slowly but surely collect your botnet over time, because you can automate an attack against 10,000 different models of the same 10,000 different devices of the same model and make. Like, it's terrifying.
So, John, as a user of Showdown, do you think it's not an invasion of privacy that you're able to see into someone's network and identify issues that they may not want you to know about?
That's interesting that you say that with such a shit tone, considering we just spoke about privacy. No, I don't think so. Kind of and I'll tell you why. This
is mass surveillance at its worst.
It really isn't.
John.
It really isn't.
The government are using this to. Go on then. This is okay.
Yeah, of course it's okay. It's a great tool. Because it's publicly facing, and then your argument is, well, aren't pools publicly facing? Well, pools.
That's exactly how I say it.
Pools and pools. If as an IT guy or as a home user, I'm fucking port forwarding out my IoT device to the internet. Yeah, that's on me. Okay, that is 100% on me. Jesus Christ, especially the fact it's really not mass surveillance. Don't be a dummy and port forward shit you don't know about. They're like, but I want to access my thermometer when I'm away. Okay, idiot, don't. Like, no. Shame on you. Don't do that.
I mean, these swimming pool guys could just pay their taxes and, don't.
You want to hijack this conversation to the pool?
I don't.
I'll go, Peter. I'm ready.
Because we need another 20 minutes on that topic.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just finish up with one other little story that a little thing from the thread, which is the best phishing attack I saw recently was an email with sexually explicit images and a message along the lines of, Thank you for subscribing to our daily porn email. And it's mailed to corporate addresses. And then when you click on the unsubscribe button, which, you know, a lot of people are gonna, you get a prompted along something. This is the clever bit. You get prompted. There's something that says, corporate firewall has blocked your access to this X-rated website. Please re-authenticate to confirm you want to continue. And everyone's going to be like, "Oh my fucking hell, I want to unsubscribe from this," and they'll put in their, you know, intranet login details. Yeah, and then that's the end of that.
Amazing.
The couple things that really stood out to me from the story. He made one comment about how he thinks smartphones are a security success story, which I thought was really surprising. But he said it's so it sounded like he was making a distinction more of like the phone itself versus the app store where you can install this tracking software. And he said a lot of it has to do with you can buy a kit to hack Windows laptops for like $5, but it's going to cost you $100,000 to buy a hacking kit for a phone, which makes a huge difference. So that was interesting. The other comment that he made that I was really surprised by, as he said, on cookie pop-ups, just click on OK to make the box go away. Cookies are not really as big a problem as the website prompts would make you believe. There's tons of other ways of tracking you. So I was pretty. I actually was wondering what you had, if you had anything to say about that, Peter. Tell us how Mikko's wrong.
No, he's kind of right. It's just, you know, I still think we should block what we can. He's right. My one thing about tracking is that there's always this level of tracking that you can't prevent. So server to server tracking, you can't do anything about it. It's the same as cookies, but cookies are just a convenient way for like massive enablement of tracking. It's really easy to put a third-party tracking pixel on somewhere and get a cookie sent when you go to every website on the internet. And you can see this through Google Analytics.
And then I had this one for John. He was talking about Bitcoins. Bitcoins are valuable because they are... crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bitcoins are valuable because they are expensive to make, impossible to forge, and strictly limited in number. Investors want to buy Bitcoins for precisely these characteristics. And he talks about how we could find more gold. But the thing that I always go back to on this is gold can't be wiped out by an EMP. So that feels like the trump card.
The trump card. Oh, very good.
Sure. Nice. Also, yeah, you're right. You're right. But if an EMP that's big enough to take out the entire Bitcoin network, which is fucking worldwide, if an EMP goes off that big that somehow ripples or it's a coordinated attack across multiple continents, literally we take out the entire world. We're worried a little bit more about like hospitals, emergency services, power, heating, anything.
That's true. Canned foods suddenly become worth more than gold.
A little bit more important than gold or the network state of Bitcoin. And then once the EMP wears off and all of these things come back online, Bitcoin just starts churning again. So it's not like...
And you can blow up gold mines with an actual bomb, right?
Right. And then also like gold and diamonds, like these are also limited by supply synthetically through the big parties that are involved in mining it.
Yeah, that's true. But
Gold is a little bit more important than diamonds because we can make diamonds. Gold takes a lot more effort to make. You can go buy a synthetic diamond, but the 100% conductivity of gold.
You should look into a little something called alchemy, John.
John, get with the times, man.
First of all, I'm a huge Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood watcher.
Oh my god, I've just watched
the.
Oh, it's so good. I watched all of it.
Do you see the live action one on Netflix right now?
No,
I was not impressed at all. Yeah.
Jesus Christ! Don't, guys. How many times do we have to tell them this? Stop trying to make live action anime. It's not going to be a thing.
The last Airbender book 3 is coming out. Live action.
Terrible,
we're going to see
live action.
No, I don't know if that's true. They kind of abandoned it after.
They tried with the first movie. It was fucking awful.
They didn't just give
Someone
up
went,
after
"Oh,
that.
you know what?
They're rebooting and trying
Nailed
again.
it."
Perfect.
Trying again.
I watched the live action Fullmetal Alchemist movie, and I think the problem was that they were too faithful to the actual anime. They tried to make the acting
The
like
hair
an
and
anime
the
character.
acting.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Work.
It's
That's a good
slightly
point.
kooky, slightly dumb, and it just doesn't work in real life. It works as an animation, but not.
Well, animation, you don't have the limitations of live action. You can literally animate fucking anything, and that's what
True.
drives such a huge number of people to love anime, is because there's no limits.
It's divorced from reality. So yeah,
But
it needs to be an interpretation be successful.
back to because we're not the not so anime update.
Although people should
think
say
the
in the comments where we're
Yes.
right or wrong about anime.
Sure.
Yeah, do you know what?
And
Peter's on team live
don't have
action
time right now,
100%.
If you don't have time right now, just subscribe, and then catch up with us later.
Good point. Good point.
Exactly. Oh, also, we do have a Discord that you should join.
Yeah,
because
we
it's
do,
so active.
actually.
It's all the time just talking so much fun stuff. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So anyway, where was I? Yeah, I don't agree with Mike's argument regarding EMPs and BTC, because like it's virtually impossible to set off an EMP that big. If a solar flare hits us that is like, it acts like an EMP and it takes out half the world, Bitcoin's actually going to be totally fine. And because that's just half the world. And then also everything else is going to go down that relies on electricity, including gold mines. So yeah.
All right. Okay. Problem solved. Thank you. Well done. Glad that we've, the armchair professionals do it again.
Yes.
I'm just going to cut it on John.